The Shooting Range. In this episode, pages of history, the whispering but deadly Beaufighter. Challenge and strategy, shooting missiles down, and metal beasts, the dangerous AMX-32. But first, a small announcement. The next episode of The Shooting Range will be released a bit earlier. Starting August, the show moves on to Saturdays. The time stays the same, 4 p.m. GMT or noon ET. Today, we'll be talking about the AMX-32 MBT, located on the BR 9.3 of the French tech tree. This is a deeply modernized version of the time-tested AMX-30 designed specifically for export purposes. The vehicle combines all the features of the Western MBTs, a powerful rapid-fire weapon, well-piercing APF-SDS rounds, and good mobility. The vehicle is armed with a 120mm dual-plane stabilized gun that elevates from -8 to +20 degrees. Paired with it, there is a 20mm autocannon. The turret is fitted with an anti-aircraft machine gun and smoke launchers. The tank's front is protected by spaced armor. The crew arrangement is classic. The driver is at the front, next to the fuel tank, while the other crew members are in the turret. The engine and the transmission are at the rear of the tank. The ammo is divided into two large groups, one in the hull, next to the driver, and the other one in the rear part of the turret. There are two types of ammunition available: a Heat FS round with penetration rate of 480mm from any distance, and an APF-SDS round piercing almost 390mm from half a kilometer away. Both projectiles are great against enemy tanks, but we recommend using the latter one as your primary choice. The later MBTs have good protection against high explosive rounds, plus the APF-SDS round has significantly better ballistics. Don't forget to use the 20mm autocannon that's paired with the main weapon. It packs enough punch to fight the enemy's light-armored machines like AA Tech and IFVs. Thanks to its excellent elevation angles, it can effectively repel enemy aircraft, and in close combat, it can break an enemy's barrel, disarming them for a while. Another advantage of the AMX-32 is it has a thermal sight, which can detect the enemy even in daylight, unlike the simple NVDs. The tank has enough mobility to keep up with its allies, but not enough to be the first to occupy strategic positions. As for the weak points of the tank, it is the armor. The designers did their best to improve the vehicle's protection with spaced armor, but still don't rely on it too much. Of course, you'll be fine facing small caliber cannons and machine guns, but any shot from an opponent's main weapon can send you right to the hangar. It just showed up all of a sudden, and in the very next moment, an avalanche of bullets and projectiles hit a cluster of Japanese tanks and infantry, lined up in a parade formation in honor of the Emperor's birthday. A two-engine Beaufighter rushed over the main square of Burmese Myitkyina like a black shadow, and the ominous whisper of its engines couldn't silence the screams of panicking Japanese soldiers. Noiselessness. This unusual property of the best British multi-purpose combat aircraft was at first overlooked even by the British pilots themselves. Only after the Beaufighters destroyed several German ships and the captured Kriegsmarine sailors who stated during interrogation that they didn't hear the roar of the approaching plane until the last moment. They started thinking about it. And indeed, where did the noiselessness come from? Turned out, it was because of the amazing Bristol Hercules engines. They seemed like your usual 14-cylinder radial aircraft engines, which at the time were produced in huge series in all the countries that were considered leaders of the aviation industry, except in these ones. The gas flow control system had a sleeve valve design instead of the usual poppet valve one. Take a look at the Italian BA-65's engine, for example. See these numerous sorts of tubes going to the cylinder heads? These are the poppet valves that make the most of the noise. When the exhaust valve is opened, the hot exhaust gases burst out with such a rumble that it can be compared to a cannon shot. It's like taking a muffler off a car and driving down the main street, except that there are 14 cylinders in an aircraft engine instead of 4, and the volume of each one is like half a bucket instead of a pint. In takeoff mode, such an engine can not only deafen, but even confuse a person standing nearby. Moreover, the metal poppet valves themselves strike their also metal valve seats at the moment of closing with such a noise that they can muffle even the hellish cannonade from the exhaust pipes. But the sleeve valve mechanism of the Bristol Hercules engine had no colliding metal parts at all. In addition, the system had a much higher efficiency than a poppet valve one, and the extra power could be used to implement an insane, unthinkable luxury for a combat aircraft: mufflers. That's why one could barely hear a Beaufighter flying in the sky, only from a couple of kilometers away, and only if the weather was calm enough. And you might ask, okay, that sounds cool and all, but if the British were using such great quiet engines, why didn't they develop something like that in other countries? And the answer is, many have tried, but nobody has succeeded. A sleeve valve gas flow control system is incredibly difficult to produce, doesn't last long, and requires very fine tuning. To an inexperienced mechanic, it looked like a mad watchmaker's delusion. But it was worth it. Only one needed to reduce the thrust just a little bit, and the Beaufighter turned into a whispering shadow, which the enemy could only detect at the very last moment. And then there was no time left either for tanks to hide in bushes, or for anti-aircraft vehicles to ready their weapons, or for ships to begin an evasion maneuver to avoid a torpedo. The already multi-purpose aircraft turned out to have yet another role to play, slowly and quietly. And now you know why. Not so long ago, you suggested in the comments that we try to shoot down a missile from a tank cannon. Okay, let's try it. First of all, let's choose a vehicle with slow ATGMs. The Type 60 ATM, for example, and try to shoot them from the HSTV-L. Its APF SDS rounds have good ballistics, and the gun reloads in just a second and a half. The lake on the Poland map is ideal for tests. The distance will be enough for a whole series of shots, and the stones on the shore will allow us to hide the Type 60's hull so that we don't accidentally hit it instead of the missile. Everyone in position? Launch. The ATGM rushes towards the target and we open fire. A few projectiles pass it by, and then one of them goes right into the missile. Success. Further experiments have shown you that you can shoot down even a faster ATGM with any other type of projectile, except it will take more attempts to succeed. The challenge is quite complete, and that could be the end of it. But while we're on the subject of shooting down enemy missiles, let's look at it in more detail, and specifically look into ways that are applicable in real combat, unlike the exotic pursuit of shooting ATGMs with a tank cannon. Hey guys, can you give us an extra bumper? Yeah, right now. With the release of the update Starfighters, the top anti-aircraft vehicles became able to detect, lock onto, and track missiles with their radar. This makes it possible to shield yourself and your allies from the enemy's ATGMs to a noticeable extent. Let's remind you that your radar is very conveniently controlled via the multifunction menu that you can access by pressing the Y button on your PC or by pressing the left stick on a console gamepad. And if you want to bind separate buttons, they can be found in Controls, Ground Vehicles, Weaponry. Now let's go into battle. Having appeared on an anti-aircraft vehicle, thoroughly search the sky. Maybe some lurking helicopter pilot has already fired a missile. Then you can lock onto it with the radar and fire your guns at the lead marker. After they waste a few ATGMs in vain, the enemy pilot will abandon you and switch to other targets. But you don't need to switch just yet. Keep shooting down their missiles, even if they're meant for someone else. Your allies will be grateful for the cover, and the enemy helicopter will soon have to retreat for reload. Now, if the sky is clear, there's no point in standing still. Calmly move along with the main forces of your team, staying behind in the second line and restraining yourself from getting too far ahead. Your task here is to support your teammates. After all, the radar can see not only aviation, but also any other ATGMs, including ground-based ones. Therefore, you can shoot them down as well. For example, many IFVs can hit a tank in the frontal area only with missiles, and you can bring a tangible benefit to the team by depriving them of this weapon. Okay, the challenge is complete. The bonus tactical section is also dealt with. It's time to answer some of your questions. The first message was sent by a player called Philip Burchia. I still don't know how to use these orders in a game. Please help me. Hello there, Philip. There are various types of orders. To find out about the requirements for their completion and the bonus rewards, just point your cursor at them. To activate them in battle, open the statistics board, and in the lower right corner, you will see the Orders button. Samuel Sekel asks, why do some American planes have glossy camouflage, like the P-51 or the B-17? Won't they be spotted easily in the air? Hi, Samuel. The Americans preferred not to paint their aircraft for several reasons. Firstly, the paint itself wasn't as smooth as it could be today, so it created additional drag. Secondly, a layer of paint added some noticeable numbers to the vehicle's weight, while the designers of the time were doing their best to lighten the planes instead. And later, by the end of the war, the Americans were so dominant in the sky that they didn't really need any kind of camouflage to begin with. Then there is the question sent by Calfod. Can a bomb hit a flying plane and destroy the plane? Hi there. Yes, if a bomb hits another aircraft while falling down, it might very well damage it or even destroy it. Here, take a look. Another question comes from Baruch Ratz. What do you think at Gaijin is the best Rank 2 American fighter plane? At Rank 2, there are a lot of good fighters. Each one of them has its pros and cons. We ourselves like flying on the P-38 and the XP-55. You might like them too. And the last message for today was written by Alisa Ritter. Amazing video. You will make a difference. Can we be friends? Hi there, Alisa. Thank you for your support. Make yourself at home. We're always happy to see new, friendly faces on our channel. Well, that's it again for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment, which from now on will be premiering every Saturday at 4 p.m. GMT or noon Eastern Time. Saturday, not Sunday. You have been warned. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click the bell, leave a like, and tell us what you think in the comments below, and stay safe with us, War Thunder. See you in less than a week.